everybody, Julia here. This is episode 7 now of the City Lifting vlog. A couple things I want to talk about before getting into training today is weightlifting gear. I get a lot of questions about like what kind of shoes to get. Do I need sleeves? Do I need knee wraps? Do I need wrist wraps? I am kind of a purist. I think less is more. We should learn how to move our body correctly before adding a whole lot of extra bells and whistles to it. Number 1, shoes. Necessary. If you're gonna lift with some kind of regularity and really put some effort behind the Olympic lifts, you need good shoes. They provide stability. They provide additional range of motion in your ankle so that we can get into better positions in our squat. And they allow you to produce more force through the floor. We are not lifting weights in squishy running shoes. If you are not at a point yet where you're ready to invest in like a real weightlifting shoe, something flat and firm. Converse are cool, not to name drop, but like Nike Metcons are cool, things like that. So we need some firmness to the sole. Eventually, when you're gonna upgrade to a real weightlifting shoe, which you will, you need a heel. You need good stability through the midfoot, so they usually come with a strap over the arch. And that's it. I have a second generation Nike Romalio, I don't know. And I've had them for about almost 4 years and I love them. It's an investment, but you're gonna have it for a while. That's number 1, shoes, must have. Number 2, a belt. Now, I don't necessarily recommend a belt for beginners, but it is something that as you start getting into heavier things, you may want to have. I mentioned this in a previous video. First and foremost, we need to learn how to brace and use our core properly. This is a performance enhancer. It is not something that's gonna fix lack of body awareness or strength if you don't have it. So that's my number 2, is a belt, a weightlifting belt. Number 3, straps, pulling straps. I've used these before. We did a little tutorial on how to set up your straps. Straps are almost exclusively for pulling, for heavy pulls. Sometimes you can use them for snatches, right? Just to secure your grip to the bar. It's gonna help you not worry about the grip so much, not worry about destroying your thumbs. And then if we're snatching with them or cleaning, you can clean with them to produce a little bit more speed, because again, we're not worried about holding on as much. So it's gonna let you transfer that speed and power a little bit more. So that's my number 3. You notice I didn't talk about wrist wraps. If you're having wrist discomfort, now I might sometimes toss on like a flexi tape or something like that. We need to build up your capacity for your wrist to handle load, for your ability to get flexion in that wrist. If we're deficient in like lat or tricep mobility, those are all mobility things that we need to address before we start putting band-aids on stuff. Last one, and this I don't recommend for everybody, and I actually have stopped using these, are knee sleeves. Woo. When I first started lifting, I definitely abused the knee sleeve, wore it all the time. It's cushy, it's warm, makes you feel good. But I've really recently, over the last year, stopped using my sleeves. I think I've put them on once in the last 6 months, and it was for a super heavy squat after like hiking. So I was in a little bit more tender than usual. These again are stretchy. They are not neoprene, they are elastic. And all they're gonna do is give you a little bit of added warmth to the muscles and to the joint, and to give you a little bit of compression. These again are not super tight, and they move with you, so you're not gonna get a lot of compression, but it's gonna help some blood flow to that joint. If you have a history of knee injuries, it may be something wise, but again, do your PT, kids. Do all your mobility work, do all your isometrics, do all that stuff to help actually strengthen your body before we start putting fancy things on top of it. What you'll notice is it's pretty basic, right? Aside from shoes, which are a must-have. One more time.
Must have.
The other 3 are kind of negotiable. It's a situation-based thing. So that's all the gear you need. Without further ado, we're gonna lift weights.
Yeah.
wanted to talk about something that I recently posted, which is about weight cuts and why I generally don't recommend them, but I felt it was pretty hypocritical if I didn't admit that I myself have done a number of weight cuts. My thoughts and my feelings on them. If you are qualifying for a higher level national meet, now that's not saying any of the AO series, right? That is a great experience, it's great exposure, you're getting to learn a lot of things about competing at the national level, but the requirements to get there aren't quite as high, so I wouldn't necessarily cut weight for that. I compete in the 55 kilo class, and I generally live somewhere around 57. It's not a dramatic weight cut, and I think that's kind of the best way to do it. If it's something super aggressive, it may not be worth it because you're gonna see performance drop off generally. A month out, I will stop any alcohol. Not that I'm a particularly big drinker, but like I enjoy a glass of wine. So a month out of an event, I won't have any alcohol. That not only helps with my recovery and my performance, but it also helps me drop a little bit of that additional weight. Track what I'm eating. I don't necessarily change a lot of it at all, actually. I'm just a little bit more aware. Outside of prepping for a meet, I eat pretty intuitively. I don't necessarily log a lot of stuff. And depending on where I'm at, the week before, I may start to do some kind of water manipulation, but it really changes meet to meet. AO final last year in Salt Lake, I did my usual water cut and didn't need it at all. I came in way underweight because of the altitude. So there's all these kinds of variables to start thinking about if that is something you're doing. Is the travel time? Is what time of day you're lifting? There's all these other kinds of things that make it really, really complex for some athletes that if you're new is not worth it. So again, I know I do it sometimes, but that doesn't mean it's appropriate for everybody. And if you are going the route of starting to become more competitive and you're gonna have to do your first weight cut, I do recommend talking to a professional about it so that you could do it healthily and still be able to perform. Because at the end of the day, it's only a 2-hour weigh-in. You gotta make weight, and then 2 hours later, you gotta lift weight. So we don't wanna lose a whole lot of our strength and our athletic capabilities within that 2 hour if you had a really dramatic cut or a really hard cut. So talk to a pro, ask me if you need referrals for professionals to help you with your weight cuts, but all in all, probably best just to get strong and put on some solid muscle and really fuel your body for performance so that you can be fast and you can be powerful and you can be strong without having to worry about making weight.